Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, a space for spiritual entrepreneurs who refuse to settle for anything less than their purpose. I am your host, Lauren Perlingi. After surviving a near-death experience and being declared gone for 3 minutes, I woke up with a mission to help women turn self-sabotage into self-compassion and fear into fuel. Here, we're going to dive into raw conversations, practical tools, and inspiring stories designed to help you break free from old patterns, claim your voice, and build a business that lights up your soul. If you've ever felt like you don't fit the mold, you're in the right place. This is where Misfits rise into their power. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space where we explore healing, alignment, and deep truth beneath our lived experience. Today, I am joined by somebody whose work is incredibly unique and deeply needed. Tena is a teacher, a writer, a scientist, an intuitive guide who specializes in vibrational communication and helps people break free from emotional loops, drama patterns, and that victim game. Her perspective comes from both her professional background and her lived experience. And I really want to give her space today to share her journey in her own words. So Tena, before we dive in to everything that you teach, I love for you to start where it feels true for you. So it could be Cliff Note version, it could be some of your story, maybe behind your titles, but what really led you to this work that you do today?
Honestly, and by the way, thank you for asking. My personal experience led me to what I do today. First, I was involved in a PhD in a mainstream scientific paradigm, but then I experienced the sudden infant death syndrome. My baby, newborn baby, 3 days old son, unexplainably died. Doctor couldn't find what happened. And that event pushed me to re-examine everything I learned so far. But that was just the beginning of my extensive, deep journey. Later, I gave birth to a daughter. She developed so-called incurable genetic mutation, the no. That means that neither I or my husband are carrier of that mutation. And that was another question mark above my head. Why that happened? Why no one can tell me why is this thing why these things are happening, not only to me, but to majority of population. There are so many unexplainable things. And that personal events, led me to explore new ways of thinking, to research the edge of science, the new wave, so-called alternative, but now we know it's not alternative anymore. It became mainstream. The question is why I experienced what I experienced. And from my research, I found out that we are not only our bodies, and this lifetime is not the only lifetime we lived. As I believe, what sound reasonable for me, at the soul level, we choose to have those experiences, to learn about ourselves more and to love ourselves more. So basically, that two major traumatic events led me to find about the victim game. That is the structure of a mentality of the world we are living in. It's fear-based, scarcity, victim consciousness. And now we are transforming from fear-based, victim consciousness to a love-based, sovereign one. And that's what I found through my exploration. Of course, PhD helped me to analyze, to research, to synthesize information, and from my personal experience. That was my journey that led me to find about the victim game and the roles we play with ourselves, each other, and the world.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your experience. And it comes from that expertise, and I keep hearing, like, it comes from that because you are a scientist, right? Like you like that's what you do, right? I feel like probably on a different planet, or before I came here, I was a scientist too, because I always said when I was younger, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a scientist. Like that's what I always say. So I'm looking at you and I'm like, oh, it could be me in like a different lifetime, right? um, it just shows your expertise of like, this is who I was, this is what I accomplished, and this still happened to me, right? Well, it happened for you, I shouldn't say happened, excuse me, it happened for you. And going through your experience of loss, it does feel, it can and at times, right? Grief is like a different journey for everybody. Even though it's something happened for you, it's like you can pull yourself out of, like, the term that you use, that victim game. Like, you can pull yourself out of victim and put yourself in victor and look at it from a different perspective. And I think that that's huge when people are stuck in this loop of, I've seen both sides. I know a lot of people, um, like I was on his podcast, and I've had other people on the podcast that talk about grief. And I've seen people in this like loop of grief that they're not giving themselves permission. They're not allowing themselves. They're not, like, it's a constant loop. And a lot of, you know, I see now too is spirit, not as much, but spiritual entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs are actually keeping people fear based in loops and making them feel like, I can never get out of this. So if we're speaking to that person, what are some of the most common emotional loops, I should say, or maybe let's just say call them patterns, that people are stuck in? And how do you help them, like, and how do these loops quietly run their life?
So, what I learned from my experience, my baby dying,
Mhm.
first, I didn't want to acknowledge that. I just pretended it didn't happen. It's a denial. I was in the denial phase, but that's a normal grieving phase. However, what I discovered was my subconscious belief that if I let go of him, that will know that I didn't love him or that I abandoned him. And many people, and by the way, I met a lot of people who lost their loved ones, children, and spouses, and they grieve for the whole life because they carry belief, if I continue with my life, that will mean that I never loved that person. Okay, so at the spiritual level, what's happening? That's what I learned when I finished my course, Spiritual Acceleration. I learned about energies, about different realms, and how soul works, and how everything is, connected. When we hold the soul of that person, of my baby, we are preventing their development, their journeys. And in many lifetimes, because we are connected in eternal now, there are part of us who still grieve over some soul. And because we don't want to let go of that soul because of beliefs, if we let go, we will betray them. That's just one belief. There is lots of beliefs and values entangled around that core belief. We are preventing our soul to evolve, and as well the soul of our loved ones. That's what I learned. And it's very important to clear the belief and to let go of that energy of that person, because it's our song. We are our unique song. We have our tones. Let's say that I'm a John Lennon's Imagine, and you are whatever, the song you love.
Yeah.
And we let's say if we are entangled like partners, and you die, and I don't want to let you go, that means that I keep your tones, your song in my song, and it's not anymore beautiful song because it has different tones. And when we clear energy, we remove tones, energies that are not our core, unique, authentic vibration. That's what's happening when we let go of person who we loved. Okay, so it's very important to let go of person or baby or yeah.
Now, if somebody like to listeners, like somebody is listening to this, that obviously can, that trigger that comes up of like, oh yeah, I'm just supposed to let go, right? Like it sounds so easy and simple. And I know it is as easy as simple as we make it, right? We put that energetic charge behind it. But what would you tell somebody listening that maybe lost a child or maybe lost a loved one, that they're not able to maybe see or honor or allow themselves to let go? Like, what would be like something that you would help walk them through or like help them realize besides what you just explained?
Um, First thing is to honor space and place where they are. When I was in my dark place, I couldn't see the light, but by honoring and valuing that state we are currently in, accepting it, we are opening ourselves to something new. So first step is to honor. Yes, I grieve. I lost and I feel pain, and to feel. Feeling is healing. Here is what happened when I was in hospital. Doctors wanted to, it was shock. It's like 1,000 knives stabbed in my heart all at once. And my body, my nervous system was in a state of shock. And it was painful. However, I went through it consciously. Doctors wanted to give me sedatives, but I remembered the words of my grandma. My aunt died from cancer, and my grandma was alive. And she said, people wanted to give her the pills. And she said, I don't want pills. I want to grieve. I want to cry out my daughter. And that words anchored in me. And I said, I want to cry out my baby. I felt that. I was in that place, in that space. Later, I took a half of a pill because it was unbearable, but I went through that pain, that feeling. And because I know how it feels, I wasn't out of my body, I was in my body, and I felt that. I allowed myself to fall apart. Now I can help others because many of us simply can't stay in bodies to feel and to release emotions, to release that pain. And what is important to know, feeling is healing. And by providing safe place, now it is safe for you to feel. Whatever emerges, it's safe to feel. Just breathe through it. The practitioner, the therapist guide you. Okay, hold space, high vibrational space, and then person can fall apart safely. I think that's important, very important to allow yourself to feel, because feeling is healing. If you fall apart, just fall apart and know you won't die. Okay, you won't die, it will pass. Like a wave comes and release comes. And
Right.
very important thing, the second important thing is feeling. Stay out of your story, stay out of your head. If you continue looping, oh, he was so good, I don't know why that happened to me. If you keep looping those martyr stories, you're perpetuating and you start to suffer. Pain is different from suffering. Continuous pain, not releasing pain, holding on to that pain creates suffering, and we become martyr. And there is also reason why we don't want to let go of our martyr story. And I learned it from my experience as well.
I definitely resonate with that one. Now, the one thing that you just said is pain and suffering. So for somebody that and especially these words that I've even been consciously not saying, like I struggle versus I'm having a challenge. That word struggle takes me back deep. Like, am I a victim again? Am I acting like a victim again? Versus like I'm having a challenge because challenges come. And I've often, it alerts me so much now because I'm aware of it. Like I'm making myself, what are you saying, Lauren? Like, what are you saying to yourself? Journaling and all the things, like doing all of the things that like I like to do. And, you can do whatever works for you or take up journaling. But I've noticed that my humanness, like, or I should say my ego, or stuff that I've noticed through my own emotional patterns and loops, is it's like our bodies like to struggle. Like our humanness likes to struggle, and our soul is like, we're not doing that. Or your higher self or your higher power, whoever you believe it, it's like, we're not doing that. And it's a constant fight between your ego, because we're all human, we all have egos, and our higher self. So, can you kind of speak on what the difference is between that pain and that struggle that you might feel or challenge, however you say it?
Okay. So pain is something what passes, like all emotion, energy in motion. You feel
Right.
pain, and you release it, let it go. However, the question is why we are hooked on pain, martyrdom, why we so-called hold on struggle, why we love to struggle.
Yeah.
Here is why. Because we are conditioned by our families, societies, media, that, religion, suffering is something noble. And why I didn't want to let go of my martyrdom, because, that baby and the disabled child, because people were telling me, oh, you're so strong. God wouldn't give that challenges to anyone. But if I let go of my story, I won't be strong anymore. People won't admire me. And my ego didn't want to let it go because I was important. I was better than you. I suffered more than you. And that's the reason why people are not willing to let go of suffering, because suffering makes them feel better than others, and that's the negative ego structure. By the way, we have ego structure, and we need ego structure because we are in physical reality. It's like having a diving mask to explore underwater. Okay.
Yeah.
And ego is like a diving mask to explore this physical reality. And there is something like positive ego, and there is also negative ego. Negative ego keep us suffering. It tells that the more we suffer, the more cookies we'll get, from God or later in.
Right.
So that was the reason why I didn't want to let go of my struggle, of my suffering. Yeah,
Wow.
because I was better than others.
Yeah. And that's like it, that's very powerful. Like I feel like if that it's probably going to trigger people listening to that or watching that if you're watching that. But I think that awareness of, oh my goodness. Yes, that's right. And it's like, how do I shift that now? And I mean, it's not about shame, blame, guilt, whatever, low vibrational stuff. It's not about that. It's about how can I do better, for humanity? Like, that's how I'm speaking from my perspective, like my experience. How can I just be better? How can I stop continuing to do this woe is me, poor is me, I'm a victim, blah, 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 everything that society is saying, and how can I make a difference? So, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for, being on your journey, and I'm proud of you. And I feel like that is really huge. And then, also helping and reaching and helping others too. Because I think that is the most, for me anyway, it's the most honorable part of being able to have this space that people can, you don't know how many times I've heard people stories and they get off the recording and they're like, that is the first time I've ever said that story. And I'm honored because they felt it was a safe space to tell their story. And then, now the rest of the world can hear it and they don't have to worry about who hears it. They just, whoever needs to hear it can hear it. Right. So, Thank you for being here. I did want to say that because your story is going to resonate with somebody and it's going to help shift them dramatically. Even if you don't know, right? We don't really need to know who our story reaches, right? It reaches who it does, right?
Ah,
Yeah. So I want to kind of talk about the vibrational communication. So like what does vibrational communication mean and how do our emotions or maybe let's call them what trauma shifts the frequency that we communicate from?
okay, so vibrational communication is basically what we all do. But are mm, we are conditioned not to experience it, not to feel it. It's feelings, it's emotion, it's something what you feel in your body. Because everything, every situation, everything has its own vibration. And what I said before, we are our own unique songs. We are from the same source, separate, like different, but same, only different. Okay. And you have your song, I have my song. That's our authentic vibration. And what means vibrational communication? It means when you tune into the field, into the it can be the book, it can be like our conversation, it can be, people who are listening to this podcast, and you feel something in your body. You feel some vibration. And that vibration can be positive. It feels like expansive, light, happy, joyful. And it can be heavy, shrinking. That's negative. Okay. And what I mean from vibrational communication, to communicate with those vibrations that are not you, they're shrinking, heavy, and releasing it. Actually, holding space for you to release it. By the way, I'm not doing anything. I just allow the source, your higher self to work, to do whatever is best, for you. So that means vibrational communication. When you sense someone's vibration, and you communicate with the subconscious part, with that vibration, with something what is not unconscious, and I can sense it. I know to discern how grief feels and these layers of griefs, and all that tiny tones. And by the way, I'm a music teacher, and I owe everything I think in the terms of tones, musical notes.
Yeah.
And what I do, I help you to remove tones, vibrations that are not you. That's basically what we mean, what I mean by vibrational communication.
And I feel like that now speaking about that, that kind of makes me think about like in relationships too. So like if we're going to talk about relationships, I have I just love exploring relationships, I feel like all the time. So it's something where I thrive. For me personally, where I thrive is in relationships and community. And I feel like my whole life, relationships have been a challenge for me. And it's the communication piece. And you talk about tone and just speaking about, like with my daughter, she's now almost 6. She's like, Mommy, obviously I'm raising her very consciously. And she's like, Mommy, I was a yeller in the beginning parts of her life, right? It's just passing down what I got, what I passed down.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and so I was consciously aware of why am I screaming at her, thinking that she's going to do what I want her to do, and she's shutting down, right? And I could feel her shutting down, right? So then I'm like, okay, do some help, like, do some self-help things, talking to other parents, be making awareness around it, having people on the podcast talking about that too, because it's a real thing. It's just us parents don't want to be vulnerable and be like, yeah, me too, I'm a yeller. Or there is some people are like, yeah, me too, I'm a yeller. Anyway, so getting back to the tone, I noticed that if I'm gentler, because that's my authentic self and that's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from a place of overwhelm. I'm not coming from a place of I'm frustrated because she doesn't put her shoes on, or it's, I'm not coming from a place of we're going to be late for school or we're going to be late or whatever it is, like whatever the thing is, right? That I come from a place of being gentler. The response I get from her, I don't get a reaction from her. I get a response of like, okay, mommy. And then she does it. And it's just like, this is magic. So it's like remembering those times of like when I hear you say tones, same thing with my husband. If I'm overwhelmed or I'm making all these stories up in my mind, I have to do all the things at one time and it's like not real, it's not true. Like that's just, all the things I tell myself, right? That if my tone comes off across like maybe aggressive, um, I think sometimes when I talk about things like that I'm passionate about, that aggressiveness comes off, but it's not necessarily negative. It's just I'm passionate about this and that energy behind it is fueled, like from what I'm talking about. So it's like I always have to make sure that I'm aware of what I'm speaking because that is huge from the other person that is on the other end, like that's going to, how are they going to reciprocate that? Because if my tone is nasty or, overwhelmed or whatever, I feel like all of us in relationship or, just with other people, you never really know what they're going through. And then that communication I think is huge. Would you agree?
Yes, you can just what you said. You can say something what you don't feel and don't mean, lie, but underneath those words, that's vibration. You can say, let's say, how do you feel? Oh, I'm okay. But you're not okay. There is underneath that vibration that you actually communicate. And that's basically what we in our childhood uh, heard from our parents. It's not about what they said, particularly when we were young and couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
But we can sense the tension between mom and dad. We can sense something is not
Yeah.
good. They're lying. We can sense that. Let's say, and that's basically how the victim game is learned and why we continue to play it. Let's
Right.
say that mom and dad are fighting, and next day we can, although we don't understand, we can sense some strange, weird, fearful energy, aggressive energy. And later we ask, What happened? Why you fight?" Nothing. Everything was okay. Or next day we wake up and ask mom and dad, "What happened yesterday?" Nothing. They pretend that nothing happened. But actually, we can sense that something happened and they lie to us. But since we are very small and as a humanity, we have embedded the survival mechanism, I would rather accept lie than, maybe being abandoned if I believe that it is true, because
Right.
fear of our parents leaving us, that's a survival fear. And the why we accept the lies that we actually know those were lies, particularly when we are young, because we are afraid we will not survive. And we are dependent upon our caregivers, upon mom and dad. And without mom and dad, we are dead. So we will rather perform and accept that it was about us. We were wrong. Okay, I imagined that something is off.
Right.
But we felt that vibration. And we put masks, and that's how the game, plays and
Right.
goes for centuries.
Yeah. And I'm starting to and definitely resonate lately. My daughter has been waking up in the middle of the night and she doesn't normally, here and there, like the full moon affects her, sometimes the new moon. But one one thing that you had just said about, and not that maybe I don't know if she could even articulate this conversation with me, but or have this conversation. I could probably ask her questions, but like sometimes she says yes when she means no, and you know how that goes when they're almost six. But like when I when I ask her a question or like, why did you wake up? Or, and she's like, I had a bad dream or, something like that. Right. And, I'll lay down with her and, usually I fall asleep too, laying down with her or whatever. But I'm starting to notice that when she's shifting from like being 5 to 6, I'm starting to look at this like my own inner child of if I asked my mom to lay with me because I was scared, it was no, you need to go back into your bed and lay down. And I used to sneak on their floor in the middle. Like she would always, there's been a lot of times I remember I would sneak into her room because she told me I wasn't allowed in there. And I would sneak in her room when she was sleeping and I would just lay with her and I felt safe. And I feel
Yeah.
like that feeling safe is why I'm never going to tell my daughter I'm not sleeping with you, right? Because that is her root chakra. That is her I need my mom to feel safe until I learn that consciously that I'm already safe and I don't need my mom anymore, right? And that will come, that will come. I hear it from many parents that will come. So it's like understanding it from that perspective too, along with taking my own experience with my own parents. I don't think intentionally my parents ever made me feel unsafe or wanted me to feel unsafe, but that's just what happened through my own, lessons and the things that I chose to learn this lifetime. So it's like when I'm listening to you say that, I'm also kind of looking at my own life right now, thinking, oh, maybe that's why my daughter, because in my ego or my logical mind is, why does she keep waking up? I just want to sleep in my own bed, like why does she keep waking up? And looking at it deeper, it's because maybe she's learning what safe feels like. You know what I mean? And like teaching her that as well. So thank you for explaining that because
Yeah,
it's very
that's
powerful.
you're completely right. And here's what happened in my case. My daughter used to cry and cry and cry. She had that genetic mutation. She's disabled and like a big baby trapped in a 12-year-old girl's body.
Yeah.
And in the first 4 years, she was constantly crying. And I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And what that lesson taught me, uh, I have to take care of myself first. I have to clear my own patterns. And when I cleared my field, my daughter changed. And I found the best way that worked for me is a self-directed compassion. I worked,
Mm,
for her through myself. I said to myself, I'm so sorry you're completely helpless. I'm so sorry you can't help her. I'm so sorry no matter how much you try, nothing works for you. It's higher self giving compassion in the third person to a wounded part of you. And she was my reflection because the world around us is our mirror.
right.
And how to change the world, the physical world around us, the relationships. First, do your heal your own patterns, your own trauma, and that's what you are doing. You are breaking that pattern,
Right.
so your daughter won't uh, transmit that pattern to her children or so on. So what we are doing here, we are doing very significant work, breaking the victim patterns, healing ourselves so our daughter, our children will be free. So they don't have to repeat our wounds, not feeling safety. And what you're doing great stuff because your daughter feels safe with you.
Yeah.
And
She
you're
does.
healing your own little you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. My husband, and he's probably going to kill me for saying this on the podcast, but it's okay. He also reminds me she's just testing your boundaries, which is very true because I know when she'll do this little like cry, and I know it's a fake cry to see what I'm going to do, and I'll sit with her. Sometimes I'll just sit with her until she falls back asleep, and then I'll go lay in my bed. But lately, it's been this pattern of her waking up and then her either wanting to come sleep with us or, uh, like her wanting me to come sleep with her. And it's interesting when I clear my own energy or I clear her energy, or like I'll sit with her and then, like, we'll do some type of like kid meditation or something to kind of clear her mind so she's not thinking about, because she will always say to me, Mommy, I still think about it in my head, which is if she had a bad dream, she can't really stop thinking about what the dream was just about. So like I will sit with her in a very kid friendly, we'll just clear our minds kind of thing. And then she's able to self-regulate herself for the most part back to sleep, or kind of help that with just like the steps that I gave her, the things that I know. But then sometimes she just needs her mom. Sometimes she just needs me, and I'm completely tired, and I'm like, I don't care about a boundary right now. I'm laying down with her and I'm going to sleep, and then that is it. There's no like back and forth. But my husband will always say to me, "She's just testing your boundaries," and I'm like, yes, and she also wants to feel safe, because I feel that in my body of like she just wants to feel safe. A lot of the times this happens when she comes back from her bio dad's house. She sees him twice a month. She doesn't
Mhm.
feel safe there. She feels safe with me and with us, and her bonus dad, that she gets two good dads, like, and they both have roles in her life, right? She chose this. She chose this. I mean, I can't tell her that, because she'll tell me, no, I didn't choose this, but I'm going to eventually teach her that you chose this. That this is what you chose. So for a lesson, right? So yeah. But sometimes my ego likes to step in the way of like, you're doing a horrible job. Why would you lay with her? Why would you do this? Why are you doing that? You're tired. It's because you keep getting up at night, all this stuff. And it's just like, no, calm down, Lauren. Calm down.
Yeah, you're doing the best you can in particular moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our parents did the best they could. They knew. They didn't know better. They did the best they could from that perspective, from that, everything they knew. They couldn't do better. If they knew to do better, they would do better. But
Right.
they don't
Right.
know. And that's very important to delete the blame game, to step out of the blame game, because the victim game is founded on shame and blame. Yeah.
Yeah.
First, stop blaming yourself. The more kind with ourselves we are, the more gentle with ourselves we are, the more gentle and kind will the world will be with us. Reflect our kindness back. Love yourself, and everyone around you will love you.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the shame and blame. So
Yeah.
these are obviously two very powerful weapons inside the drama cycle. It's funny, or I should say, not funny. It's interesting that the trauma triangle that, everybody teaches about or talks about. I always call it the drama triangle, because it literally is just drama. Like, so
Yeah.
when I was reading your stuff, like when the stuff that you sent over for the podcast, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna love this conversation, because you call it the drama cycles, because that's literally what it is. It feels like drama. It is drama. It's just like, it's draining. It's just like, so can you speak about how this maybe very subtle shows up in daily life or relationships? Like, how does this show up?
Walking on eggshells, uh, always thinking that something negative will happen, expecting the worst, feeling powerless, silently, unconsciously sabotaging yourself. Let's say you have a presentation, and just before that presentation, you have a terrific headache, or there is a traffic jam. You know, that's pattern that patterns of a victim drama game we can see everywhere. And the core belief is I am not good enough. I am separated from God's source. God's source universe doesn't love me. That's the core belief. And from that belief comes I have to earn love. I have to do something to be valuable. And that's the way, and that's the point from where drama comes. You know, and also, maybe you saw people who are constantly rescuing pets, animals, They feel sorry for animals. They feel sorry for wounded people, for disabled people, the people in need. Those are people, particularly healers, teachers, me, I'm the best representative of a savior role,
Anybody probably listening to this podcast, them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried to save my daughter. I tried everything I knew to help her to stop crying and to become better. But nothing works. And that's the pattern in victim game. No matter how much you try, nothing works for you. So my thought slipped away. I wanted to share something very important from with the drama game. Yes. And what I did, yes, rescuing and pitying, the rescuing and pitying versus helping. The difference is I see you equally capable, powerful as me because we are from the same source. That's the sovereignty consciousness. But from victim consciousness, oh, poor you. You can't help yourself, so I'm going to do that for you because I felt powerless. And in order to feel powerful, I am saving, rescuing you. That's what I was doing. I couldn't help my situation, my daughter, and I was giving advices to other people. Maybe you can see, and maybe people who love to share advices, who like to share to rescue someone in need, but they are in a bad condition. You know, pity. Pity is not uh, compassion. It's totally different thing. Pity is I'm better than you. You're poor you, so I'm going to help you. That's from a victim consciousness. But from sovereignty consciousness, I see you, you have challenge, you are equally powerful. However, in that particular moment, you just need my hand to step on your feet and then you can go by yourself. It's different perspective. Savior saves to feel powerful. Victim feel powerless and need someone to save her. And there is a third part. Third role is the villain role, and that's a very important role because it's okay in our society to be a savior, superhero, everybody, oh, he's so good, he's helping everyone, he doesn't have bread for himself, but he's giving that to others. Okay, superheroes. Victims, everybody are, pitying victims. Oh, it's about the genetic conditions. It's not his fault. Poor him, poor her. But villain, no one praises villain. No, it's not me. But I learned how I turned into villain. Do you want me to share how I turned into villain and how we turned into villain?
Yeah.
My daughter was crying and crying and crying, and nothing worked. And in one moment, after I don't know 4 or 5 hours of cry, I tried to soothe her. I was so exhausted. I was so tired. I felt so helpless. And I shook her. Oh, just stop. I want to throw you out of window. I can't do it anymore. And I put her back to her bed and stepped the room. And who was I? I turned into villain. And I understand now mothers, people who kill their children. I know what should happen. And every one of us have this villain role and that hurtful child within who feels helpless, unseen, full of rage is the one who sabotages you, who creates headache and traffic jam, who silently sabotage you, the hurtful part within. And the way out of a victim game is to admit, yes, I am the villain, and stop blaming yourself, stop punishing yourself, stop beating yourself with your thoughts. Oh, you stupid, you did it again. No wonder no one wants to hang out with you. How stupid you are,
Yeah.
Okay. Just stop that conversation and give yourself compassion. Yes, okay, I messed up. It's okay. But I don't want to go into self blame. to spank myself. First stop spanking yourself, and then the world will stop spanking you. That's how it works.
And I love that I love that you have been like saying how vulnerable that is too, because I think a lot of us, I know me, I don't know if you dealt with this, but postpartum, like extreme postpartum depression that I dealt with after my daughter. I think it was a lot of things. I think postpartum isn't talked about, even just depression, period. And at the end of the day, when I get back into if I'm looking at a wound, then I'm like, well, that's a scar. I don't need to go back down that road. What do I need to do to kind of honor what I'm feeling versus go down that deep, dark hole? Because I've often, and I know that you can resonate with this, I hear people say, I went down that dark hole and climbed out many times. In my mind, I'm thinking, what will stop you from going down that hole and just go around it? And maybe just reflect back on, I know where this is going to take me, right? And then keep on moving forward. And I feel like, having the tools, you obviously have to gain those tools of, what you need to do to heal from that. But it's like none of us will be healed. It's always healing, and there's always a different layer and a different thing to go through and a different um, thing to learn through that wound. And I think society makes it seem like, oh, you already went through that, you should be better, or you should do better, or you shouldn't on yourself, or we should be fixed or saving people, especially in families or partnerships. And I think that is how we stop enabling ourselves or other people, right, to feel like we have to fix people. Because that's where I came from. I felt like I needed to fix my parents. I needed to fix myself. I needed to fix everybody. Well, not myself. Then I realized if I just fix myself, then everything else around me seems like it's fixed. Right? Yeah. So it's interesting how, like you said, you stopped being the villain and stopped blaming and shaming everybody, and then everything else, your reality looks different. It's simple as you hear people say all the time, right? I don't like my reality, so change it. And then people have the excuse of like, I can't. Well, why can't you? You don't like it, so change it. Right?
Yeah. It's easily said than done
Right.
from for many people.
Mm-hmm.
And here is what I learned, what stop us from changing. So there is negative beliefs that we don't want to let go. And the question is why we don't want to let go of that negative beliefs. Because we believe that negative belief protects us. And basically, I will just explain some example that I found interesting. Imagine that you have a mirror, and the mirror is dirty. And behind that dirt is your true self, beautiful, divine you. But you can't see the divine you because of all dirt. And this dirt is negativity, negative beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm separated. No one loves me. Whatever. And the question is why we don't want to wipe that mirror to see our true self. Because that dirt is telling us, don't you even dare to question the truthfulness of myself, of belief. Because if you dare to question, you may find out that it is actually true, and you will cease from existence. You will kill yourself. And it's better to have that hope. Maybe it's not true. Okay, I will keep you to be sure there is possibility that it is not true. But if I question that and I convince myself that it is true that I'm not good enough, I will cease from existence. But of course, that's how negativity works, because we are programmed, as a divine beings, naturally we choose positive, light, love, what feels good. But why we choose negative? Because we believe If we let go of that negativity, something bad, fearful, something awful will happen. We will die. That negativity serves as a protective mechanism. We believe that that protects us. So that's the reason why we don't want to let go. However, the truth is, you are valuable because you exist. If God, source, universe, doesn't believe that you are valuable, you would not exist. You know, you exist. By your existence, you are valuable. If you are not important, if you're not valuable, you would not exist. So that is truth. However, many of us are not willing to wipe that mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the analogy of the mirror because through my own darker times, I don't I have hiccups here and there, but like they're not dark. Like I want to say back in 2018, 2019, when I really started taking my healing journey seriously, I should say. Well, I feel like I had to anyway. Not that I had to, but I got to, I should say. And I just got so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I think that's what I was so sick of just looking at myself and be like, somebody told me to do mirror work, and I was like, absolutely not. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. I can't do that. To now that I can look myself in a podcast or talk about maybe what the guest is talking about and be like, yeah, I hear you. I see you. I'm witnessing that because we all need some type of like, it always feels alone. Sometimes it feels alone. I mean, even if the entrepreneurial journey alone feels like, is anybody listening? Is anybody listening to what I'm saying? And that one time that somebody says something, or that one time that you make that content, or that one time that you speak from your heart, that is what is magnetizing people to you too, good or bad. And I noticed that if I just stop being that shitty human that I was before, now I'm not saying that I was a shitty human, I mean, but I was, like, my trauma got in the way, and it needed to teach me lessons, and I wasn't willing to learn those lessons, right? But fast forward to now, even now, I'm starting to realize that I still have shitty boundaries. I mean, I just learned boundaries 5 years ago when somebody told me you need boundaries. I was my first mentor. I was like, what is a boundary? What are you talking about? I didn't know what a boundary was. Nobody taught me boundaries, so now they're talked about more of the role of a boundary. And that was really for me, and I want you to kind of speak about this a little bit, is the only way that I was able to, we'll just call it the drama cycles that you call it, to really break free from all that drama, that the patterns, the cycles. And can you kind of speak on why this is so hard for people to maintain? And I'm including myself in this.
Well, it can be challenging. It can be hard because we learn that in early childhood. We grew up in the dysfunctional families where there were no boundaries. We switched roles. Mother was villain, and then dad was, let's say, villain, alcoholic dad. It's in addiction, or it can be the main victim can be an old grandmother coming living with a family, or a disabled son, or something like that. And everyone are trying to everything is uh, going into circle around that person, and you don't know who you are. Okay, you don't know who you are, so you don't know boundaries, and you think that everyone else knows what you think. Okay, because you don't know who you are. You your mother energy, all these energies are meshed up.
Yeah.
And because our parents didn't know what healthy boundaries are, how can they teach us what healthy boundaries are? That you are not responsible for your mother's feelings, for your mother's actions. You are not responsible for your mother's feelings, actions, behaviors. It's not that your mother is angry because you did something. She is angry because she feels angry because of herself. And that's what we didn't learn, that we are not the cause of our father's angry outbursts, of our father's drinking problems, mother's suicidal ideas. We are not responsible for our parents. And what we learned also, that we are, just a second, something is coming. What we learned. So it's very important to know this. Aha, okay. We should not take care of our parents. We are not responsible for their well-being. They should take care of us because we were children. But we learned that we are responsible for our parents, that we should take care of our parents. And in that way, in that situations, there are no firm boundaries. Okay.
Right.
So I believe that if someone listens this, it's very important to know and to anchor. You are not responsible for your father's feelings, for your father's behaviors. You are not responsible for your parents' marriage. It's not your job to take care of your parents' feelings of them. Their job was to take care of you. And that's firm boundaries, that's healthy boundary. I am responsible only for my feelings, for my reactions, behaviors, and thoughts. They are responsible for theirs. And because in a victim game, there is no responsibility, the responsibility ball is throwing, oh, he is guilty, it's because of him. No. First, take care of responsibility only for yourself, emotions, okay, feelings, behaviors, and stop thinking that someone did something good or bad because of you. No, you know, you are successful because of me. No, you are successful because of you. I'm successful because of me. That is very important to know, and that are healthy boundaries. I know what my field is, what my emotions, thoughts, emotions, behaviors are, and I'm responsible only for that. And it's not my job to save someone else. My job is to take care of myself. However, when we are children, we don't know that. And if there is no one to teach us, how can we teach that to our children?
Right. Yeah. That is very true. And thank you for explaining all of that. It was when I have to say, through when I learned all of that early on, it put me kind of like in this blame. I feel like I was in this blame cycle more, blame shame cycle, or like the trauma triangle, or however you say it, like trauma cycles more, because then I still didn't want to take responsibility for like what I endured in childhood. And then I realized, well, that's also still not working. So let me actually see if I can take my responsibility portion, right? And then my like accountability portion. And then the rest of it is just forgiveness or acceptance, or it's going to be, I hear this quote all the time: forgiving somebody that's never sorry is the hardest sorry. And it's kind of like, that's the only way to move forward, right? You have to do that, or you're going to constantly have regret or resentment, or all of those lower like end vibrational feelings that are very draining, you know? So I think that is, boundaries. I learn boundaries every day. My daughter is a huge teacher of boundaries. So is my husband. Huge teacher of like where my boundaries need to be stronger, where I need to honor myself more. And it's like, thank you. All I do is thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for teaching me that. Instead of that, you know, that putting myself back into that drama triangle, of victim. It's more of, I'm able to see it from and I'm saying this because I think that this is a good practice from everything that you've been saying to us through this conversation is, I know a lot of people resonate with this. They might not talk about it publicly, but I know for a fact everybody in a marriage or a relationship with their parents, with their kids, we all could have better boundaries, right? Or, honor ourselves more. So, um,
Yeah, that's just what you said. It's completely right. And how can we practice that in real life?
yeah,
Uh, we start with triggers. If someone triggered me, I don't want to blame you. You triggered me, because if I blame you for what I feel, I'm giving away my power. Okay, so here is what I do in my reality. When I feel triggered by something, someone, I tune into my body and I feel that, and I give myself compassion in the third person for that. Let's say someone told me something and I feel triggered. I'm so sorry he hurt you. I'm so sorry nothing works for you. Okay, so here is the thing. If you cleared that pattern from your childhood, from your field, you won't feel triggered. You won't feel unpleasant emotional intensity when someone tells you something. Let's say you tell me you're stupid. Okay, I don't care. It's not personal, no.
yeah,
But if I feel triggered because you said something like that, oh wow, there is something in me that needs to be addressed. So I see triggers as a door to deep subconscious wounds, and I track them. And usually I remember that situation from my childhood when something happened, when that wound anchored in my body. And I give myself compassion in the third person, or I use other technique. The point is to release that. Okay. And when that person you see or tells you something else, or also some negativity, you won't feel triggered. And then okay, wow, I heal that patterns. Thank you for showing me where to look. Just it is important not to blame, because when we blame someone for our situation, we stay in a victim position, we stay powerless.
yeah. And that is very true, especially because we're recording this right now around the holidays, and I think that it always comes up around holiday dynamic or like family dynamics, or you know for I know that me and my husband were raised by two different, we come from two different families, and he has his set of wounds, I have my set of wounds, and then like healing them together. And I've often noticed that sometimes this year I've had so much compassion for just maybe always myself first, but a dynamic that I can see that's dysfunctional, and it's not like I'm trying to save, be the hero, but I can see it in real time in his family. It literally is a cycle. And I'm just, here's me, I'm an observer and I'm just watching it. Like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I used to put myself involved learning, trying to be that, hero, saving it, feeling, because I was the outside person. I wasn't in the family drama until I became the problem. And I was the problem. So then I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. I was trying to help out. So it was like, seeing the observer of all of that, that I'm like, oh, I'm seeing it. And I can see it from like, I'm just observing. I don't want any of parts of any of this, but just it also giving that space to my husband too, and understanding where he's coming from, because I know what he's dealt with just by seeing it now in both of his parents, and then I've seen his brothers and his sister, like how they're operating too. So it's interesting, and I'm sure vice versa, he can see the same in my family and see where having some more understanding, because I think that at the end of the day, in a healthy healing relationship, it's understanding. So how can I understand why he acts the way he does and not take it personally? Because I used to take it personally. like, am I the problem? I'm probably am the problem. But like, here we are, you know, like just joking about it now that I can joke about it because it's like part of that, the wound that I've healed. Like, you can make me the problem until I'm not the problem anymore, and you're still you're still going to have part of the problem, you know. And it's that whole cycle of the awareness that he has now of like, Lauren's not the problem. Sometimes I am, but I'm aware of like, I apologize and the responsibility and accountability that I can take. But our parents don't necessarily even have that in them or even willing to do that. So it's like being okay with that too. You know, I hear people all the time, I wish my parents would change. Stop wishing they would change. I always say that. I was there. I understand it. Stop wishing that they would change. They're not going to. It's not their role. They're here to teach you. Right. And as much as that is triggering to hear and to be like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? It's what you chose. And I think that is the hardest thing for some of us to hear, you know? Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yes. When you heal yourself, then your parents can't trigger you. You have compassion, like you
Right.
said,
Yeah.
towards them. You honor them on to honor their path. You see them, okay, they are there. It's their path, and I honor you. If they're sleeping, you don't want to wake up because they will be mad. And and you when you are sleeping, you don't want everyone other people to wake you up, right?
Right.
So point is to honoring when you are in observer mode, like you said, you don't feel triggered, you honor your parents the way they are. And by being your authentic self, subconsciously you are activating their own authenticity. And in that field, miracles are possible. And what can happen as a result when you heal your stuff? Your parents will magically change, but not because you want them to change, because you changed. And that's just because they are your reflection, and your reflection will also change.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the truly, I have to say, over the last 3 years, I've seen a dramatic change in my husband's family, just from his own healing through everybody, all of that. And, in the beginning, I was that I could, I was the one that can see. I could, I had my own shit I have to deal with. They taught me so many different lessons, if it was his mom or for his dad or for his brothers or whatever. It was, they've taught me a lot of lessons, and I'm very grateful for that. Same thing with my ex-husband and his family. And it's like, I have an ability to give compassion, because when you don't want to wake up, like you said, it's not my job to wake you up. That's the universe's job. That is not my job. And I am not going to even claim that to be my job, because that is a hard job. Well, it's not a hard job for the universe, but, or whoever you believe in, higher power. But something dramatic would happen. And I don't, do I have the energy and power to do that? No, no. I mean, do I care that much? No, because it's like everybody has roles, or like focusing on, where they need to be and their relationships and circumstances. And, you know, we could talk about this for hours. So before we wrap up, for the listeners that maybe feel trapped, maybe in their own circumstances or their own emotions or their own relationships, what is one practical shift that you could help them step into, today, into their own freedom?
Yeah, I would say to you that it's nothing personal. If you feel triggered by some person or situation in your life, it's because you unconsciously play the victim game. But now you know that you play that, and everyone plays that. You're not the only one. And become aware of your triggers and just let it go and allow yourself to be you, to speak what you feel, and to follow your heart.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this powerful conversation. And if something in you maybe clicked, maybe something in you softened, maybe your shoulders felt more relaxed, they're not all close to your ears. Maybe if you finally understood your emotional loops that you've been trapped in, trust it. It's your body remembering what it feels like to live outside the victim game. So be sure to check out the show notes, or if you're watching this over on YouTube, the description box, so you can connect with Tena and all of her resources, diving deeper with her into her work. And if you love today's episode, make sure you take a second to share it with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening, or maybe somebody that needs this message today. Because this insight truly has changed my life, and I know it has changed hers as well. And if you're craving deeper support on your own healing and business journey, I invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. It's my community for spiritual entrepreneurs rising into purpose. You can also connect with me on Instagram on the Mermaid Light, or you can check out the links below in the show notes. And again, if you're watching this, they'll be below in the description box. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time.
If today's episode spoke to you and you're ready to rise with support, I'd love to invite you in to the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood, a sacred community for spiritual entrepreneurs to heal, grow, and lead with purpose. You can join us by using the link below in the show notes, or connecting with me over on Facebook or Instagram at The Mermaid Light. If you loved today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave a review. This helps support us reach more women who are ready to rise. Remember, your journey isn't about fitting in. It's about embracing the truth of who you are. Until next time, stay inspired, stay aligned, and keep creating your extraordinary path. This is Lauren, and you've been listening to the Enlightened Misfits podcast.